And we are live on, I think, which is the 88th edition of the Red Man Group. I'm your host and moderator, Donovan Sharp. We are brought to you by Tactical Soap, which will increase the size of your cock by up to 8 feet with regular use. Results may vary. Tactical Soap is not responsible for the destruction of your woman's lady parts, front, back, or her esophagus. Tactical Soap, please use responsibly. We're going to open up the phone lines here in just a few minutes. If you want to call into the show, the number is 914-205-5356. I'm going to open up the phone lines here in, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 minutes as we're doing our introductions here. But before we get started, let's go ahead and introduce today's esteemed panel. First up is Steve the Dean Williams, who runs the website, themanmindset.com. Be sure to check out his weekly show right here on the Red Man Group channel, The Red Pill Mindset. That's every Monday evening at, is it still at 7, Steve? Because it's, I don't know, for whatever reason, I have different times.
Yes, 7.
Okay, very good. Excellent. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, give me a second, which you guys definitely need to check out. Also on the panel today is none other than the CEO and founder of 21 Studios and the 21 Convention, Anthony Dream Johnson. His websites are 21studios.com and the21convention.org, where 22 convention tickets will be on sale tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, which is the Red Man Group, as well as this channel, 21 Studios, for exclusive content, videos, and sign up for the 21 University. Also on the show is Phil. You guys can find him on Twitter at EvolvedPhil. That is at EVOLVEDPHIL. Now, Phil, this is my first time talking to you on the air. For those in our audience who are new to you, who haven't seen you before, what exactly do you do? What are some of the topics of conversation that you talk about?
Definitely, some of the topics I'm interested in is definitely family and patriarchy, first and foremost, masculinity, fitness, hormones, training. I'm all about working as building up men's opportunities to be successful in this world today. So that's what I'm after right there.
Excellent. Okay, so you're definitely in lockstep with what we're trying to do here. Otherwise, Anthony wouldn't have you on. It sounds like you're certainly doing what we like to do here.
Phil's also a speaker at the Patriarch event 2020.
Oh, okay. So you're going to be a speaker at the 21 Convention Patriarch edition. I think Tanner Guzzi is going to be the keynote. Is that correct? Yep. Okay,
correct.
Very good. Yep. So that'll be a very good time. I'm looking forward to doing that.
We've moved Hunter to Vice Patriarch instead of Chief Patriarch.
Oh, okay.
It's a big change. It's a huge change.
Yeah. So we've got the president, the vice president. All we need now is a treasurer, secretary of defense.
Well, I'm not the chief patriarch. I mean, that's Tanner in this case. So.
Good stuff.
It's going to be great.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and I'm going to open up the floor here. The 22 convention is a convention that is for women and by men. What that means is that we are going to have a convention specifically for women, but there are not going to be any woman speakers. There aren't going to be any female speakers. Anthony, I'm going to start with you here. Why do you think it's important to have an event for women, number one? This is the second part of the question. Why do you think it's important not to have female speakers at a convention that is for females?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, the 22 convention is an idea I had way back in 2015. Just like a very generalized concept to build a convention for women someday. So I've had it since 2015, the idea and the domain, but I didn't do anything with it, obviously, until now we're getting it going finally in 2020. And the reason for that is I knew that I did not have like a foundation for it to launch it. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that probably someday that needed to happen. For years, people had asked me if we would do a convention for women, and I was like, no. I'm not a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I'm never going to be a woman. So that's a whole different area. It's a whole different dynamic of human life that I have zero experience of. But in 2018, as my speech that I gave later that year at the convention, talked about, I had the idea presented to me from a former speaker at the convention, Richard Nicolai, with a hat that said, "Make women great again." And I absolutely fell in love with this idea almost immediately. Like that same night, I was just raving about it. I was like, we need these fucking hats. And the very idea of it is making women great again, specifically in Western culture and Western nations, in America and Canada and the UK, that appealed to me. That appealed to me as an individual, as a young man in America, in the middle of this sexual marketplace that is just absolute anarchy and free fall collapse into quite literally prostitution in the sense of sugar
Yes.
dating and sugar hookers and shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's not even just that. That's just like one of the most extreme or bizarre functions of it today. That's taken off, like we talked about in episode 88. This is episode 89, by the way. I just checked on the channel. Anyway, so doing a convention for women is something that I've been asked for over a decade at this point, but I never really had the genesis for it, the foundation, until I found this hat and this concept in 2018. And so since then, I've been discussing it with the speakers among you guys behind the scenes, over a dozen of you guys, not just the 4 of us on this panel. And I think it needs to happen. I think, feminism getting more and more radical, more and more insane, and not even just feminists, but the derivatives of that, the offshoots of that into wider culture for women by the tens of millions who don't even consider themselves feminists, but are heavily influenced by these ideas.
Right.
I called in my speech in 2018, I think you were there for it, Donovan, that feminism has become the modern religion for women today. Religion in the sense of it's the dominant philosophy for how they're going to live their life, what kind of choices they're going to make as a teenager, as a young adult, and as a woman. It absolutely dictates that in terms of like life, career, family, marriage, dating, hookup culture, all the way down to cam girls, the thought audit, sugar babies, sugar dating.
Yeah.
It's just become this fucking shit show. And a lot of America, it's not all of it. Like Goldman Unleashed, one of our speakers, is doing a tour throughout America, and he's finding pretty consistently that any kind of sizable city, it's all the same shit. But if you leave that to smaller areas, it's not quite the same.
He and I, to interrupt you here quickly, Anthony, he and I had a conversation about that before and during the Red Man Group Live. I had no idea that he had moved out of Brooklyn. And I said, well, why did you live in New York City? He says, dude, it's a shit show. If you can mention the word Trump or masculinity or anything like that, you're pretty much made a pariah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, though, actually, it's funny because I stayed with him right before he left up in New York. Went to visit him after Elliot Hulse's grounding camp event he had. And we're hanging out, and then he sent me to his coffee shop to get some work done. And they ended up kicking me out because of my shirt, the Future's Masculine.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was funny.
The good news is they went out of business. So I was pretty happy about that. It was right near his house. It was like this famous little shithole coffee shop for hipsters and shit. All the people that hate people like me and like Goldman and stuff and like us.
Sure.
Anyway, so Make Women Great Again is the genesis of the 22 convention. And people think there's like a lot of specifics to it. Like I have some, fucking bullet pointed list of like check marks. And while there are specific and general things that needs to happen for women today in America and the West, Make Women Great Again is not about that. And I'm not here to dictate what the speakers do at the convention or what they talk about. I'm here to build the convention out, speak out it myself, and then invite you guys to collaborate and figure out what Make Women Great Again means and where it needs to go. I don't have the foresight at 31 years old to figure out what that means for tens of millions of women. I know it needs to happen, though. I know that it's important, and I know that it's a very solid, positive foundation to head in for women. And also women, so you asked about why women, should not speak at this convention. And I don't know, by the way, if forever, for the next fucking 10 years, if we keep doing this conference after the first time, which I'd like to. But for the first one, I think it's very important. And I've taken some criticism for that and some heat for that. Not too much, but some. And so I think that women, first of all, need to be led, and that they want to be led, and that they benefit from this. That patriarchy, masculine leadership in a household, for example, is the opposite of oppressive. It's what women need, what they benefit from, what they love, and what makes them happy. And when they don't have it, they get bitchy and annoying, and they go crazy, and they blow up marriages and families. And in all kinds of variations of this, right? From dead bedrooms to adultery to all kinds of shit, all of which gets dumped off onto children through trauma and bad examples. So I think that men need to, what's lacking in America right now, it's lacking in the West, is a fundamentally positive, fatherly, patriarchal, masculine message that these women need to hear to benefit, just like a father raising his child, raising his daughter, like Phil does and Steve. That is not happening at a cultural scale anymore. And we're seeing, I think, the detriments of that, or the fallout of that, in these huge movements like Me Too and Believe Women and all this bullshit. Quite literally female supremacism and rampant sexism in the culture that's socially normalized at this point.
Right.
That has more than social consequences of sugar babies and hookup culture and single motherhood and all this bullshit. You see it all the way up to Supreme Court justices like Brett Kavanaugh, almost not getting nominated. You almost see the legal principle of innocent proven guilty
Yeah, that was
destroyed. Yeah, it was absolute bullshit. But what that was feminism. Like, this guy was not guilty of a crime. How the fuck is he not innocent until proven guilty?
unbelievable. Man.
Well, that survived by like what, 2 votes or some shit in this
Yeah.
US Senate. It's crazy.
Yeah, barely that.
He should have been nominated like 90 or no 100 to 1 or whatever the fuck. So there's a lot of very serious problems today. And so another with women and with culture on, obviously we talk about the Red Man Group and the convention, but in particular, I think there is no female equivalent of the manosphere. And something Mike Cernovich, he's on your wall there, Donovan, your picture with him. At the convention, the Patriarch Convention, where that picture was taken of you and him, we obviously interviewed him on the report with George Bruno and stuff, the 21 report.
Right.
And he talked about how there's a total lack of positive media for women, essentially. There is no female equivalent of the manosphere. You just have feminism and all the derivatives of that is nothing but negative messaging for women to destroy themselves, to destroy their lives, to ignore men, to never listen to men, to act like men, and all this deranged bullshit that makes them miserable. That we see, not only am I saying that, that's what I've seen, but that's what you see in statistical studies and shit, with how women self-report as happy, all the way up to alcoholism skyrocketing for women in their 50s, all kinds of shit like that. So there's a lot of very serious problems that women are facing in America, and they don't have any kind of positive education or media or messaging for them of what to do. And in the manosphere, we do plenty of I don't want to call it bitching, but criticizing of women in America today. And some of that is not legitimate, but I think the majority of it by a long shot is legitimate. There are very serious problems that women are encountering today that are not getting better and they're getting worse. And women, I think, have demonstrated through their action, acting on verba, ignore the words, watch the actions. Women have demonstrated for how many decades that they're not going to stop feminism. It's going to continue forever.
Right.
It's going to keep escalating and getting more crazy. And that's going to have very serious consequences for femininity, for motherhood, for family, for the future of this country, and all the other nations around it, culturally, from Canada to Australia to the UK and whatnot. So we need to provide a positive message for them. They're not going to do it themselves. I do think eventually that women need to step up and teach each other how to be women, how to be feminine. But off the bat, what's missing fundamentally is a very masculine, fatherly message for them of what the fuck they need to do, of what we believe they need to do, not just among themselves. Like, you need to hear it from the outside in. So that really is the genesis of the 22 Convention, Make Women Great Again. How to provide a positive message in education for women, and then distribute that to millions of women for free to the world, just like we do the 21 Convention for men. And so there's nothing like that exists currently. And I think that we have, as the manosphere, and particularly our speaker group that we have, group we have, the 21 Mafia, so to speak, that we have the best collection of guys in the world to do this. There is no one else doing it, and there's no one else that can do it better by a long shot. So we have a very unique opportunity that we need to, I think, stay on top of and execute on. And that's going to happen this May 1st to the 3rd in Orlando, Florida, at the 22 Convention.
Now, Phil, this is the first time, like I said earlier, that I've talked to you on the air. I know I have my opinions on why women should not give relationship advice to anyone. This is man or woman. What are your thoughts on women advising each other on how to conduct themselves in relationships? I guess that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, do you think the 22 Convention will have any effect, if at all?
Well, as far as women go and giving themselves, each other, I guess I should say, advice on relationships, I think there's, a problem with that, for the simple fact is women that have been jilted or alpha widowed or whatever you want to call it,
right,
passing that, oh, well, you go girl sort of attitude towards another woman that's asking for, well, what should I do when so-and-so is treating me this way? I think that women giving each other advice on relationships, there's a fundamental problem in that, because if the man is doing his job appropriately in the relationship, so to speak, leading his family, leading his woman, she shouldn't be asking for advice from any other girls, really. She should be saying, man, he fucking knocked it out of me last night.
Right.
It really, and that's just the moral of the story. We just to circle around, we had some company over the holiday this past week, Thanksgiving. And, my wife and I, we lead a very different lifestyle compared to a lot of our peers, our family. It's very much, I'm, the head of the house, and that's just how it is. And you know, the man that was staying with us and his wife, you know, I was like, well, we're going to do this, this, and this. And he goes, well, I need to ask her first before we can do that. And I'm like, and my wife just kind of like, she was in the middle of cooking and she just kind of looked at me kind of like, what in the world? You know, I think that fundamentally, women, it's programmed into them. So as the bitterness and feminism has taken over, them receiving information, it's just all toxic. You know, I think in a nutshell, 22 convention, if the platform is given an opportunity to flourish and grow, with guys passing information out there and Anthony doing what he does with the 21 convention, I think, you know, it could take hold. You know, it's just kind of like a seedling, you know, you got to water it daily and it'll take root and grow.
Yeah.
Whether women receive it openly, there's always going to be I guess, sect of women out there that are going to be anti-man, anti-patriarchy. And I think that's going to be a common battle we're going to continue to fight. And I think that battle is actually going to get harder before it gets easier. You know, I just, I have a lot of concern as far as that goes. You know, women in general, I believe, are really crying out for strong men, and they are really crying out for masculine leaders in their families. And these men are just unwilling to put the work in to get it done.
To follow up what you're saying here, Phil, like what I was saying about the manosphere, and we criticize women, and rightly so, I think, in a majority of cases today, with very modern stuff, right? All the crazy shit that we see. I don't think we can't keep doing that indefinitely without providing a positive message in return, like anything, something. And so I think, yeah, I agree. I think it's a 22 convention. We have to seed it and grow it over time. And there's an opportunity and the chance that could take off and really have an impact. And if not, like, what are we going to, how can we expect women to get any better and this shit show to stop if we don't do anything about it? It's just been, you know, my lifetime, I'm pretty young still, but I've seen it do nothing but get worse and worse and worse every year and every decade that goes by. Feminism gets more crazy, drives women more nuts, makes them more miserable. And that spills off into everything. To our lives as men, to families and children, and throughout the countries. So yeah, we have to provide something positive and do something about it. And that's what men do. Men lead, we take responsibility, we take action, and we take authority too. And I think that's one of the issues that I'm driving a stake in very positively with having an all-male speaking lineup, the mansplaining event of the century, as that we're taking authority over where this needs to go. Not just, you know, man up, take responsibility. Okay, great. That also comes with authority. And authority says you need to be fucking mothers again. You need to quit whoring it up and all this shit. You need to quit being sugar babies and all this stupid bullshit. And the whole variety of, you know, insane shit that we see, from the man bashing, the man hating, the mansplaining, the fucking man spreading. I mean, it's just like Stefan Molyneux, you know, talking about it in his speech at the convention. It's just an endless list of insane bullshit they come up with. They have no real problems. American women, as Richard Nicolai, one of our speakers, said, are the most overprivileged, overprotected organism in the history of this planet. They live in absolute peace, security, and safety, and comfort, and wealth and prosperity that has never before been seen in history, specifically as Americans. Other Western nations have variations of that, but America in particular, they really get like a hefty dose of it. And I think that's why in America, it's, you know, it's so fucking bizarre, or it's become so ridiculous to the dating marketplace. So it's such a clown show and rant.
Steve, what are your thoughts on women giving relationship advice to each other? And area code 415, I see you in the chat. I'm going to get to you here shortly. But Steve, what are your thoughts on women who give relationship? Because there are a lot of female relationship advice gurus out there. And to be quite honest with you, there are some out there who are extremely nefarious. It is clearly a means to an end. There are a few female dating and relationship counselors who literally advise women to level up. They're not really interested in helping women improve to increase the quality of man that they can attract. But for the most part, most female YouTubers, they mean well, but the message, just like Phil said, is flawed. I'm interested to get your take on any flaws that you see in female relationship advice to men, to both women and men.
Yeah, first I want to do say is Anthony and Phil was right, and Phil was right. One thing I want to say real quick is that they kind of have a right to bitch because there are not many strong men, and that's why you have Anthony doing what he's doing, number one. But when it comes to the women and stuff like that, I always say a loser can only teach a loser how to be more of a loser. And the thing about a woman is that a woman can teach a woman how to be more emotional. You see, the thing about women is that they are based and built on emotion, not logic. You can't teach a woman about a man because she doesn't even know what a man is in her eyes. A man is what a man to the female coach is. And it seems, and I think most of those female coaches who say, well, I'm in a great, healthy relationship is with some cuck or some cake, some cupcake in the background saying, yeah, honey, you go. You're number one. See, my man is the best, and this is what you got to do. So you got different kind of coaches out there. You got the women out there teaching women how to use guys for their money, and things like that. You got those kind of women. You got the kind of women that lie to women and make them feel like they're special when they're not. You know what I mean? You have men coaches. I mean, there are also men coaches out there. Those are the worst ones because they're living a big lie. They are that trusting guy that is the slime ball on the back end. And a lot of these guys will put down guys like us to make themselves look better in front of the woman's eyes by doing what? Validating the woman. Yep. Telling the woman that, you know what, you're perfect the way you are. There's nothing wrong with your lazy ass. Just because you can't cook, just because you gain weight, just because you bitch, whine, and moan, you're okay. It's not your fault. It's their fault. So it's so many things that women are getting, and this is why I think what Anthony's doing is really great, because it gives them the one thing that they don't get, and that is not only an honest perspective, but a perspective from real men that are not trying to sleep with them, not trying to coddle them, but want to give them proper advice so they can grow and understand the real men better, because they've got it's like a false man they see. They don't know real men.
Let's go to the phone lines. Area code 415. You're on live with the Red Bandit Group. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Evan Weiss, and I want to ask you a question about why do you guys obsess over what women do? This is not to be disrespectful. This is not like trying to attack you guys.
I understand.
But why focus on women so much and obsess over the inner workings of what they do between each other? I can't imagine a silverback gorilla sitting around thinking all day about what a woman does. Shouldn't we be instead developing as men and just marking our own path and letting everybody else come in its wake of the path? And if you guys want more information about me, go to evanweiss.com. Does that make sense?
There's a plug.
Oh, come on, man. Plug in your shit. Get the fuck out of here, man.
No. Hold on. Let me, well, I understand that, but Evan, let me ask you a question. Like you compare, and I agree with you 100%. That it is a good question. Why shouldn't we just focus on ourselves instead of trying to figure out the inner workings of women? One reason why, and Steve and I discussed this on the show with George yesterday, is the reason why 95% of men find this community is because of women. It's either sexual frustration or it's heartbreak. My wife cheated on me. My girlfriend cheated on me. I found out one of my kids may not be mine, et cetera, et cetera. But the further we go, I guess, down the rabbit hole, so to speak, the better, the more we start to realize, just like, and Steve says this all the time, this really isn't about women. It really is about yourself. But here's the thing. You compared us to silverback gorillas, and I guess that is an apt analogy, but we're not gorillas, right? Like, okay, they have like, 95 or 97% of our DNA, but we as humans, what differentiates us from most of the, all of the other species, why we're the dominant species, is our ability to reason. Evan, we want to have sex with women. We want to be good with women. And I think for a man to deny that some of the things that he does is for the direct or indirect approval of women, I think it's disingenuous. Now, I agree with you. I think that at some point you have to understand, hey, listen, if I build myself up enough, just like Steve says, once again, you start to understand that women are a perk. But the reason why sometimes we focus on women is to get the message out. a lot of guys come into this community wanting to learn and know about women. And so I don't want to say we use it as a hook, but that's what when most men come to this community, they're looking for guidance on how to understand women. We get them in here. We say, hey, listen, we're going to give you a little bit on how to understand women, but we also want you to understand that it really is about focusing on yourself. And I think that any man, just like I said a little bit earlier, any man who denies his desire to be with women on any level, sexually, maybe just a relationships, marriage, dare I say, I think that's being disingenuous. And I'm not calling you meathead red pill guy, but we have a lot of guys who find this community. Hold on, Evan. Hold on, Evan. I'll let you talk when I'm done talking. I think a lot of guys, when they come to this community, they almost overcorrect. Like they get burned, they get hurt, they're sexually frustrated. Then they want to say, all right, fuck this, bitches ain't shit, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then they get that mindset, okay, wait a minute. It's not really about women. So that's where I come from as far as this is concerned. No, we're not silverback gorillas, and we never will be. But to deny that we want to be good with women, I think
they are our closest living animal, something we could compare to, for real. I mean,
I'd like to hop in on this, caller, if everybody's good with it. So when I look at the convention, the 21 convention, as well as the 22 convention, just like Donovan said with the manosphere, most men find it because of issues with women. Some of the times there are other things around it, fitness, health, entrepreneurship, they get involved that way. But predominantly it's either 80 to 90% or whatever, find it through issues with women of some sort. Divorce, heartbreak, all kinds of fucking crazy ass shit, right? Or even just you're young like me. I was 17 when I found it. I wanted to get better with women because I was a teenager and they didn't like me. And I'm like, oh, fuck that. That sucks. But here's what I do want to say. Male-female relationships are like the oldest thing in our species. They literally, as you're talking about with gorillas and other primates, they predate our existence as humans. Male-female relationships have been evolving as humans for hundreds of thousands of years. Right now, feminism is the biggest fucking failure of a social experiment, I think, to ever take place in Western history, if not in the world. This is fucking massive. You have billions of people involved with this, and this shit is out of whack. And where the fuck is it going? Where is this country going to be if we don't turn this ship around throughout this?
Do you think maybe it's not other men in positions of power, if you will?
Oh, absolutely, Evan. Absolutely. Listen,
it's not really women; it's really other men who are doing that.
No. Now that's where you're wrong. It is absolutely. Now we have shared responsibility, right? Obviously, and here's the thing: women can't do anything without men. Women can't even do feminism without men. If men had not helped out the grassroots feminist movement, from the grassroots effort, then feminism would not be where it is today. So, as men, I guess men who endorse feminism, they can't hide behind.
Well, hang on a second. Do we even, at this point, I'm wondering if we even disagree with this guy because we're building.
I think we're arguing semantics.
Hang on. We're building the mansplaining event of the century. Like we're just talking to women and telling them what we honestly think they need to hear to get better.
Johnson blocked me.
Wait, say that again.
Most of you guys block me every time. Well, most of you guys.
Most of us.
I might make comments on Twitter or Instagram.
Well, I don't know what that has to do with this discussion, so please move on.
Why do we care what you think? I mean, if you don't like it, leave. I don't understand these cakes, man.
To be fair, this is not. He's not the only person who thinks this. The only dude. So,
and this is a legit question that he's asking. He's asking a legitimate question. But again, to deny, and let me ask you something, Evan. Do you like women? Like, do you seek out relationships of varying degrees 100%. With different women? Say again.
100%.
Okay.
100%. I get 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Okay, I don't need to hear what kind of women you. I just wanted to hear a yes or a no. So you admit, just like all of us up here, that we like women. We like how they smell. We like how they feel. We like being around them. All we're offering is just to help. Evan, I really need you to stop interrupting me. I promise I will give you the floor. But what we're doing here is we're just helping men to understand how to not get got. Women used to be worth the trouble. But now there's so much they have to do and be and say to even get in the door. And guys are frustrated with that. And again, we all love women and we all want to pursue them. But to act like they don't matter, I think is disingenuous. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that they don't matter. I think that thinking about them or obsessing about them all day.
So you think that this is an obsession?
Case, seems like a waste of time. But I do not endorse people fucking dolls. I mean, I think that's for some special people out there.
Sure.
I'm not into that stuff either. I mean, but I mean, for example, like I just said, I know you don't want to hear the fact that I routinely, since I was 18 years old, I'm always with 8s, 9s, and 10s. And what I've noticed is if I just live my life the way I live it with my goals, like you said,
hey man, photos don't count, dude. Like I've heard this bullshit 1,000 times in the pickup artist community and the manosphere, and most 8, 9s, and 10s are like 5, 6s, and 7s that I've ever seen from guys talking about this stuff. Banging real hot chicks like that out in the real world is not anywhere near as easy as you're talking about. From what I've seen, and I've seen so many guys say this kind of stuff.
It makes
man.
me feel a lot better.
Receipts, bro. Receipts are nothing.
No, it just makes me feel a lot better that you think it's a fantasy to get 8s, 9s, and 10s routinely. But that's just been my experience. And
you're calling in just talking shit and all this bullshit, dude. You show nothing. Do you even have your real face on a Twitter account or anything? You're just some anon.
Yeah, Phil wants to get involved. Phil, do you have anything to add to this?
You know, it's just wanted to circle back around to the last Red Man group, you know, talking about the sugar babies. Most 8, 9s, and 10s are monetizing that.
Boom.
So my question is, are you simping for those 8, 9s, and 10s? And that's all I got, really.
To add to what Phil says, not only are most 8s, 9s, and 10s, not only are most 8s, 9s, and 10s, not only are most 8s, 9s, and 10s monetized. Now I'm going to mute you because you're filibustering here, and I'll bring you back on when I'm done. Not only are most 8s, 9s, and 10s monetized, most 8s, 9s, and 10s in this day and age, they work in the sex trade to some degree. Just like Phil just said, if you're an 8, a 9, or a 10, and you're living in the Western world, you're an Instagram model, you might even be a call girl, a prostitute, an escort. Looks beautiful women, especially the way Western culture is now, most women are overweight. And so that kind of raw feminine beauty, that comes at a premium. And
it's also like Donovan,
just because of the way I look, I can make a pretty damn good living.
Donovan, let's be real here too. For all of us, like 9s and 10s, legitimately, if they're like that empirically across a whole statistical spectrum, women date up. So if you're banging 9s and 10s left and right, you have to be like a fucking 11. You have to be like a Cobra Tate who's like got Lamborghinis and fucking or Dan Bilzerian kind of shit. Unless your game is that fucking sick, and some guys are, but that's pretty rare, man.
Daughter, and she's I'd say she's like a 4 at best.
I'm not even. Most guys in the manosphere are so shitty with women. They just assume Cobra Tate banged that chick. I don't know if he did or not. And the real question, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. What you guys need to ask is, would he benefit from it or not? Or what does he benefit more by? Trolling guys in the manosphere by posting that picture, or banging her? And why would he bang a 4 anyway if you're calling her a 4? This dude bangs like literal porn stars left and right. He has a fucking harem, like a modern day fucking.
Well, again, and not to pile on Evan here, but for someone who called into our show asking us why we obsess with women, you're the one who says I regularly bang 8s, 9s, and 10s. I don't know what's going on with Cobra Tate in this 4, but I'm not saying that you just contradicted yourself. What I'm saying is that and nobody's obsessing over women. Just because you talk about women, that doesn't mean you obsess over them. There are men out here who obsess over women 24/7, 365. Clearly, that's not what we do here. So for you to characterize this 22 convention as obsessing over women, that is grossly inaccurate, in my opinion.
Well, your Instagram says "Make Women Great Again," and there's like pink splotches all over the app. So
why do you care if you don't like it? Go. Game recognized game, and trust me, you started at 18. I started at 9. So what? Game recognizes game. So you ain't got no game, son. So just go ahead and take your cake ass. Evan, listen, we doing the show, man.
Evan, Evan, I'll give you the last word, and I need you to be honest here. Why did you call the show?
So I called because I called.
Don't give a shit. Fuck off.
Donovan's fucking
look. The thing is this, man. This is one of the main problems with the manosphere, is that we have too much in-house hate. Like, we're supposed to be on the same side, guys, right?
Dude, women do it better, man. I mean, that's why feminism's won for so long. Exactly. They cooperate a lot better. Yeah.
This guy, Evan, whatever the fuck his name is, he called into this show, and I don't know of another convention. And there are platforms the world over that are genuinely trying to help men rather than exploit them. We're not up here selling some Vegas party or some Miami meetup where we're going to guarantee you're going to bang 8s, 9s, and 10s and these cheated. No, We're about building rock solid families, man. We're about building a rock solid frame so that you can use that in business, work, and if you want to do this, then with women. But for guys like this to call this show and say, why do you obsess with women and I bang 8s, 9s, and 10s? This is exactly why we do what we do. This guy, Evan, whatever the hell his name was, this is not the guy you want to be, man. Like this is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand why we have here's the thing, Anthony, and I don't mean to bring up Ryan Stone's name, but he's a good friend of mine. He actually had a tweet the other day. He said, you know what? I miss the good old days when our biggest detractors were actually feminists. Anthony, it would appear that the most hate and the most disagreement we get are from other men. I'll never understand it. I'll never understand.
Hey, look, man, I had my spat with Rolo this year, obviously, and some other crew, but mostly Rolo. And I have never seen such negativity in my 13 years of being an entrepreneur, of operating in the manosphere as a leader and an organizer, than when it's not his whole audience. It's like most of his guys that follow him are pretty normal dudes. But there's like 20% that are like spurg insane retards that absolutely were sending letters to my house, violent death threats, threats of violence. I got thousands of comments on Redman Group and 21 Studios that were disgusting. Like legit, I don't even want to say this shit. Like just fucked up shit. They're still in pending review for indefinitely, like on the channels. It's insane. And I've never gotten the kind of vitriol from feminists. Feminists are pretty fucking nuts too. So that's the issue. It's like, as fucking whack job as most feminists are, this little spurg army was absolutely the most disgusting shit show of dudes, of people I've ever seen. And that doesn't exist. Where the fuck else does that exist? I don't know. 4chan or something? Like 8chan?
4chan. I didn't.
That's how far down. I mean, I'm not against 4chan, but like, you know, a lot of these dudes congregate there with legitimately have Asperger's syndrome. Right. And I got, I think, a taste of that, and it was really surprising. I didn't expect that. I'd expected the first hate call against me in my life and threats of violence and shit to come from feminists or SJWs or something. No, it was the manosphere version of that. This little group of fucking weirdos. So
yeah,
I don't know where we're going with that.
And again, and I'm not being facetious here. I'm really, and I guess let's go to that. Well, actually, I'm going to answer this question first.
I had a story I wanted to
talk about, and I'll sort of pose it.
Then hang on. Before we move off from that caller, dude, I know you hung up on him. I was pretty happy about that. But so quick story. I got back from Poland, obviously, from the convention back in like August 1st or end of July or whatever it was. And I went from Poland to Chicago as a layover and then down to Florida. When I got back to America, I had been gone out of the country for a while. But the minute I got back, there's a couple things I noticed. The women were way fatter, a lot more consistently. It smelled like fucking McDonald's everywhere. In Poland, women are dressing really nice, just as a daily routine. And in America, they're wearing fucking yoga pants. They look disheveled. They look like shit. It was a culture shock coming back to my own country, and I'm like, holy fuck. But as fucked up as it was, smelling this fucking McDonald's grease all the way back on this flight, sitting next to a single mom, literally, and her kid. I swear to God, I'm like, holy shit. I'm engulfed in feminism. I realized and I value that these are my countrywomen. These are my fellow Americans, like it or not. And I want them to do better. I want women in America in the West to be great. They're not. Their competitors in Eastern Europe and South America and Asia outrank them and outcompete them 10-1. And I don't think it's the same thing for the men. Like, men have been affected by feminism and blue pill crap, and it's been very negative on us, but it's been even more negative on women. And there's nothing positive pushing back against it. They just have feminism and then nothing. Their schools, their churches, their universities, all this shit, their workplace has been infected by feminism. Everywhere they go, all the time. They might have a solid family foundation or a cultural thing like Mormonism if you're like in that specific part of the country. Other than that, it's just an endless shit show of nuttery. So I really think that they need to do better. I want them to do better. I think it's completely normal to want your fellow Americans, if they're female or male, to do better. And this is the only thing that's going to exist right now to begin making that happen. And it's going to take a long time, make women great again. This is not a fucking couple year thing. It's going to take decades. Feminism's been rotting femininity in this country for 100 years or more at this point.
Right.
It's not going to heal itself overnight. It's going to take a long concerted effort over many decades to make it happen, I think. The internet might speed that up a little bit, so we'll see. But yeah, it's a long journey. It's a long battle. The quest to make women great again, or make women pregnant again.
To circle back around to the question that I posed to you guys earlier, one of the most detrimental things that women do to themselves is taking relationship advice from their friends. Not their married friends who have good marriages, not their friends who have been married for, 10, 15, 20 years, have 3-4 kids together. Good. No, they take advice from their slutty friends, their single friends, their married friends who are cheating on their husbands, their friends who are in a new relationship every other week. Now, the reason why they never take advice from women who are in good relationships or good long-term successful marriages is because the advice that they give isn't the advice that these girls want to hear, right? Taking good advice as far as relationship advice, that's very, very difficult to do. And this is for men and women. When men find the red pill and, guys like myself and Steve, we're going to punch you in the chest and be like, dude, you need to get the fuck off the couch, lift some fucking weights and quit worrying about pussy all the time. You need to, honestly, you need to put down the fucking Twinkies, put down the Cheetos, quit jerking off, stop playing video games, hit the weight room and make a man out of yourself, right? That's not easy to do. It's very easy to sit around and play video games and complain about women. It's not easy to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go squat. It's not easy to try to go build a business. It's not easy to try to dominate life, right? Well, this is the same thing with women. Women, it's easy to take advice from their slutty friends because their slutty friends do what's easy. Well, cheat on your boyfriend to get his attention. Go ahead and start another Tinder account so that you keep that abundance mindset, right? Like she's asked her friends who are in good relationship advice before, and the advice they gave her was difficult to hear and even more difficult to follow. Now she was told that in order to gain trust from her boyfriend that she needed to do things like give him access to her phone and be open and honest about her whereabouts at all times. But girls are not trying to hear that. And they're damn sure not trying to do it. So they end up getting advice from their other friends, the ones who cheat on their boyfriends and husbands. So I guess to sort of circle it all back, this is the reason why there are not going to be any female speakers at the 22 convention. Not that female speakers for the 22 convention would get up and say, hey, you know what? You need to cheat on your husband. No, but women are never team man, right? Women look out for each other. And when it comes down to it, for women to really do what they really need to do to become good women for the men that they want, they can't get advice from each other because it's always a little bit sugar-coated. And that's not what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, someday, I just know the first event is not going to have any women speakers at it. In the future, we'll see. So I don't know if we're exactly on the same page with a lot of the stuff, but generally I think we are. And that I agree with you fundamentally too, that women give each other horrible relationship advice very consistently. I don't think it's universal though. And I think, for example, that a mother and a wife being a good example for her daughter is an excellent way to teach younger women how to be women, how to be feminine. That has deteriorated to the point of like total collapse at this point in this country. I know Tanner Guzzi, the chief patriarch and keynote speaker of the Patriarch Edition coming up this year, he calls the rest of America the wastelands, I think, or the ruins,
wow,
or something like that. And if we're dating and stuff, and he's right. It's an absolute fucking train wreck at this point, and people are starting to wake up to it. The manosphere is just like the tip of the spear with that, with men coming together and working at things. But the reason it's growing, it's been growing for decades at this point, well over 20 years, is because things are getting worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
If if male-female relationships, if femininity, masculinity, men and women were at a healthy place in this country, the manosphere would be very small to non-existent. You wouldn't need it. People call it a response to feminism, and I don't know if that's really accurate. I think the manosphere is a response to very severe dysfunction between men and women in this country. And then people try to pinpoint like who's fucking responsible for what and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's a very complex thing. I mean, you're talking about social movements and family and culture and political thing and all kinds of legal stuff, divorce court, divorce rape, all this stuff. And as well as sexual strategy, intersexual dynamics, and all this stuff. It's been going on for decades and decades and decades, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So something has to be done. I think the manosphere is a very positive, healthy response to that. And I think it's very natural for men to want to teach women how to be better. Any guy leading a relationship is doing that. All three of you are in relationships.
Right.
And all three of you make your woman great again every day. Make them better and better and better. And so I think it's very natural for men to want to, like that guy on the phone call is the opposite of that, I think, in the end. He does not feel a push to make women great again. It sounds like he's annoyed by the idea. So you were asking him, I think, if he even likes women. That's probably a pretty good question to ask. I like women a lot, and I want to see him do great.
like I understood what he was asking, but his intentions were disingenuous. He didn't ask, he didn't really want the answer. He did what a lot of women do, which is make a statement by asking a question, right? So if a woman wants to maybe question your sexual orientation, I'm keeping it clean for YouTube, she'll say, do you even like women? Right? Are you even sexually attracted to women? She doesn't really want to know the answer. She's just asking you. She's asking you the question because she's making a statement. That guy said, well, why are you guys focusing on women? He didn't want the answer. He just wants to say, well, you guys are a bunch of cucks because you're obsessed with women. Those
and I bang super hot 8, 9s, and 10s like
dude,
butter every day.
Listen, like women, guys who come on this show and my show, I bang 8s, 9s, and 10s. That you are literally telling us that you are not good, nor are you experienced with women, because Phil pulled his card right off the bat and said that 99, or I'm going to put the number to it, better than 9 out of 10 women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s in the Western world, which that guy is from, just given his American accent, they monetize their beauty. And if they're monetizing their beauty, you're either simping or you're tricking or both. So I'm not trying to, I don't need dudes to brag to me. And then Anthony pulled his card and said, show me receipts. That's when he got noticeably quiet. And then Steve called him a cake. And then that's when he got all flustered. So
I got receipts for the chicks I bang, man. I got a lot of them. I don't share them in public, but you guys see them.
Oh, I do. Listen, go to my social media. You guys see all my receipts. I don't give a damn. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to area code 347. 347, you are on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead. Area code 347. I can hear my name, or I can hear myself faintly in the background. Okay, area code 347 going once, going twice.
Hello.
Oh, I knew he would do that. He said hello right at the very end. Now you're going to call back. Let me ask you, I'm going to pose another question to the group. And I guess it kind of has something to do with the 22 convention, just based on this guy, Evan, whatever the fuck is Evan, I bang 9s and 10s.com that I pay for, whatever. Phil, why do you think that the manosphere now gets so much in-house hate? Why do men seemingly hate on other men more now than even feminists do?
I think that hate, that divisiveness and that hate is coming from, these guys, they see the next man leveling up. They see the next man improving his situation. He's building a business, or he is getting himself in shape. He's taking charge of his life. He's taking his life back from the lie that's been told. Oh, be weak. Don't run your family, don't run your house, so, when men see other men doing good secretly, in my opinion, this is purely my opinion now. A lot of the guys that I used to associate with, as I started improving myself, improving my physique, changing the relationship status and the way things are run in my home, the way I raised my daughter, a lot of these people kind of started secretly hating. And that's okay. I'm fine with that today. I think that as, they get, there's almost a level of jealousy there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like Evan there calling in and trying to get some validation from you gents and us. Well, I bang, 9s and 10s or whatever. He's trying to figure out a way to get that validation.
Right.
Personally, I think, there's like a white knight syndrome, so to speak, from feminism, but it's kind of crossed over to, well, I'm going to hate my fellow man because he's kicking ass and I'm not. Wow. I'm stagnant. I can't figure it out. Ed Lattimore said, the game is to be sold, not told.
Right.
You need to get it. You need to get it together, man. If you can't figure it out, get someone to help you figure it out. Shit. There's plenty of opportunity out there to do that. Yep. So I think these men that generally can't stand the next man moving up in his life are secretly haters. And that's what I think it's about.
Excellent, man. Listen, I would agree. And before we go back to the phone lines, I'm going to give area code 347 another opportunity here to redeem his or herself. I think that there are two general responses when men see other successful men. I'm the type of person, if I see a guy who's in better shape than me, like that motivates me, right? It almost makes me want to go up to him and be like, yo, like, how do I get traps like yours? How can I get that 1 rep max on the deadlift or the squat? How can I get, I'm just the kind of guy, I'm not one to hate on other men. If a man has something I want, I'm gonna get a hold of that dude, be like, yo, how can I have what you have? But then there's another side of people who hate on men. When men hate on other successful men, they are quite literally telling you, I want what you have, but I cannot or will not work for it. And I think the fact that they're aware of their own lazy, it's not ineptitude. Any man can have anything any other man can have. You're a man. Like the creator blessed you in the form of a Y chromosome. But if you hate on other men for being successful, you are quite literally telling the world that you want what he has. You're just not able or willing to do the work. And to me, that's a female characteristic.
Yeah, Donovan, like, you're not a gamma male. And I think what you're really referring to is like there's a rising presence of gamma males in the manosphere, if you want to go down that kind of route. Yeah, and it's you're hitting the nail on the head. These losers and these haters, rather than try to ask for help and be a little bit humble or recognize, where their own weaknesses are, as well as their own strengths or whatever, right? What can they offer? They don't want to do that. That takes honesty. That takes a level of masculine vulnerability between other men.
Yes,
in public or in private. And a lot of guys are just pussies, man. Now they've been infected by feminism and blue pill thinking and shit for decades. My generation is millennials. I'm the first generation, I think, to have multiple generations of feminism bred into family culture and the wider culture around me, and having grown up around that stuff. And that's why I think in particular, I'm millennial young men, but millennial women, I think, are almost completely gone. That's a generation of women that are just completely just fucked. And that's what single motherhood, I think, is focused on right now. That's where it's highest. It's an absolute, it's devastation. And most of it you can't undo. Like, I hope to God, I'm not religious, but it's as a figure of saying, or as a figure of speech, that the 22 convention helps women heal and become great. But even more importantly, I really hope that young women who have not ridden the cock carousel and the fucking cock train to Tuna Town or whatever the fuck, don't fuck up their lives when they're at the dawn of adulthood, 18, 19, 20 years old. They have their future ahead of them, and they need to get positive messaging and education so that they don't become miserable cat ladies and wine ants and shit. That's like Stefan Molyneux asked, man. What if you don't have babies by the time you're 40? What are you going to do for the next 40 years of your life as a woman? Nothing. You're going to go on the sugar dating sites and fuck old fat men for $100. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely retarded. Like, it's unnecessary. It's disgusting. It's horrifying. Like, this shit needs to stop.
Yeah.
go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Donovan. The thing that happens here is that a lot of these young boys are trying to do what I think they're trying to defend mommy, because they feel like we're attacking their mothers, because it was their mothers that gave them inconsistent discipline. It was their mothers that taught them how to be emotional. It was their mothers that took away and not showed them boundaries. It was their mothers that taught them not to have coping skills and all things like that. So when they get around real men, because if they could look behind this curtain of us four men, we uplift each other. We don't tear each other down. If somebody's doing something, we pat you on the back and keep it moving. And that's how it is. But if you're on the other side of the street and you don't understand how men function, what happens is you tend to act more like a woman, and you get more into your feelings, and you get mad because you want to be part of the cool guys. Not saying we're cool guys. I'm saying you want to be part of the men, but you can't fit in because you still got your umbilical cord attached to mommy.
Oh, real talk, man.
To dress and still drinking her milk and shit.
Dude, Steve always puts that eloquently. It all comes from that feminine mindset. Big thanks goes out to Octavius Mewborn with the $10 super chat. Says, dudes, pillow talk to banana gobblers about other men all day, every day. Yeah, it is beyond me. Hashtag banana gobblers. You guys can look over here. 914-205-5356. That's the number to call if you want to get in on the show. Area code 347. You're back in the queue. You're live. Go ahead. 914-205-5356. That's the number to call if you want to get in on the show. All right, that's it. Area code 615. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. Great show. So my question is, so when you guys use the phrase, the man is the head of the household, and women that grow up in a Christian environment, they understand what that means. But we have a lack of Christianity. We have a lack of motherhood and women. So when you guys say the man is the head of the household, a lot of women seem to like recoil from that. So could you please explain for women that are listening what that means in terms of Christianity, and that, you know, you know what I mean? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I understand. I'll actually be the first to sort of touch on this. You don't have to have a religious household to know that the man is the head of the household. See, here's the thing. This is what makes the human species just remarkable. Nobody has to teach us how to lie, cheat, and steal, right? Like, we're born with an inherent understanding of the difference between right and wrong. We're also born with the inherent understanding of the difference between males and females. Men are bigger, faster, stronger. Men are, women are smaller, much more aware, perceptive, whatever the case may be. So I don't think that you have to have a religious household for the man to be a head of the household. But I would actually say this also to you too, caller. And Phil, I want you to get involved here because you're a married man as well. The church now seems to be almost on board with feminism, not because they want to, almost because they feel like they have to, because so many women out here, just like you said, caller, they recoil at the thought of the man being the head of household, and churches say, oh, wait a minute, it's not good business. It's not fashionable to teach these women out here to follow their men. So now even churches are falling victim to that. So Phil, I don't know where your religious loyalties lie, but what are your thoughts on man being the head of the household as it relates or does not relate to religion?
So with it relating to religion, so we used to go to church quite a bit, and we're Methodist. And when we joined the church, when we moved to where we live now, it was led by a predominantly male group of gents. You know, we had a pastor and we had an associate pastor, and then we had the music leader. They were all men. And then the pastor, he moved on to become a deacon or a bishop or whatever. And then we had another pastor step up. And then when he stepped up, 2 women became the associate pastors. And then the music director was accused of some sort of sexual misconduct. He said something inappropriate, if I'm not mistaken. And then he got wiped out. And so now you have 3 female leaders and 1 man. So, and then that shift, and it's interesting. My wife and I were sitting there and just watching the shift in church from, it moved away from the whole reason of going to church and to more of a social discussion of what's going on politically and whatnot. And so we just kind of stepped back from that. Now, you know, do I believe? Sure, I do. And, you know, as far as our household goes, it's interesting. The caller had mentioned, you know, head of household in relations to Christianity. And I'm with you, Donovan. You don't have to have a faith or whatever. You can be agnostic, I guess, or whatever you want to be and not have it. You know, the thinking is being married, you know, I dated my wife now for 3 years before I married her. You know, I really put her through the paces. And, you know, the example that I'm trying to get at here is, you know, I told her, you know, in the very beginning, I said, I'm an asshole. You know, I'm not easy to live with. I have some, you know, some pretty big base requirements. If you want to,
you sound just like me. Oh my God.
you know, and she goes, well, that's fine. You know, and, you know, there's been some course corrections throughout our relationship. Absolutely. Because, you know, it's we're all human. We all make mistakes, and I've made mistakes. She's made mistakes. Right. You know, but the narrative still falls back to, I am the managing partner of this house. So I own 51%. She owns 49% of this corporation. I make all decisions. So I akin to it to where I'm the judge, and my daughter and my wife are attorneys. They bring me information. I make a decision. And that's how we run our home. You know, the prerequisites in my home, as far as being head of household, you know, I mean, the list, it can go on forever, but I think, you know, people that want to be married and well, I need to ask my wife first. I mean, that's not what the woman wants. No. You know, my wife is happier when I take control of everything, when I handle everything. It rests right here on my shoulders, every bit of it, the bills, everything. She's a stay-at-home mom, you know, and it works great. And the example that she sets for our 15-year-old daughter, which I'm hoping that we'll bring up later in raising girls in this current political and feministic climate, is big. But to me, the being a head of household, you don't necessarily have to be Christian to do that. I mean, you just need to be a man and know what you want. And if your woman's not on your team, then you need to have a tough conversation with her and just let her know, hey, you're not doing it for me.
I'd like to hop in on this after Phil here. I got something I think pretty solid follow up. So
yeah, go for it.
I missed part of what you said though, Phil. Sorry about that. My fucking computer crashed. Anyway, so this caller is a really interesting question, and I really like what Phil was saying here too. So first of all, I appreciate that Christianity has a patriarchal focus and teaches women a lot of positive things. I think that's fantastic. And that has been falling out in the West, and that's been contributing or at least co-occurring with the rise of feminism. And that's toxic and unhealthy for everyone. At the same time, I agree with what Phil's saying too, that, let me say this, all the Abrahamic religions, as far as I know, are patriarchal to some significant extent. They're all pretty similar like that. And we're seeing, all these things I think kind of die out in the West in large part. But I also agree with, very importantly with what Phil's saying, that we need a secular version. Women shouldn't need, let me put it this way, any young American woman or young American man should be able to have kind of like a guide stone or a direction in life to head simply as a man or as a woman, separate from what you believe about politics, what you believe about religion or anything, morality and all this stuff. These things are related, obviously, but there's a website, actually, it's pretty cool. It's called secularpatriarchy.wordpress.com. He's been blogging in the manosphere for a long time. I only found him in the summer, but he's been blogging since like fuck knows when, 5-10 years ago or something. And it's kind of about the rise of patriarchy in the West and how that needs to happen separate. And he's Christian. He's an absolute like diehard Christian, but it needs to happen. Fatherhood and patriarchy and masculinity and all these very positive things. This needs to happen for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Jewish or Muslim or whatever. Like, this is a very positive thing. Men being men, women being women, men leading their families. This is fundamentally positive. And as Phil is saying, this is what women respond to. They want you to take the lead. They want you to be dominant. They don't want you necessarily to be a domineering fucking control freak psycho, but they want you to be a leader. They want you to be a man. They can't handle it. They need you to do these things too. And on top of it, it makes them happy and wet and horny and all these things. Like I say with Steve all the time, I joke, the women are happiest making babies and cookies.
That's right.
I'm not kidding. Like, they're happiest making babies and cookies. Most for the vast majority of them.
Leadership. This is why they test your manhood even in relationships. They're not doing it to be a bitch. It's running on autopilot. Okay, I got to make sure this guy is still fit to lead. Let me test him. That's how it works.
Absolutely. My wife smiles more when she's got her apron on and she's in the kitchen than anywhere else. Call me misogynistic. I could care less.
Hashtag misogyny, right? Who gives a shit?
Hashtag happy. I mean, fuck.
Go ahead. Steve, I'll give you the final word here on 615.
Well, 615, with all due respect, this is why we're having the conversation, because as a woman, what you think, we understand what you're thinking, but your thoughts are not what men do. As a man, even if you look at nature, and again, I'm not, if you're a Christian or you're religious and you want to be, that's fine. That's what you want to do, but it doesn't make you a man. It just makes you a religious person. And religion to me has nothing to do with what I stand on as a man. My woman has to do what I deem is worthy of my last name. And because she went after my last name, and because she went after my ring and my time and my respect, that means she's playing by my rules. It's not a dictatorship. It just is. It's just that she knows that she's a Williams at the end of the day. She is the luckiest person in the world to take my name. So what she does with it is very important. And that's going to be the difference between her keeping the name and her losing the name. That's it.
Okay, let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to area code 916. 916, you're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Hello, how are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing good.
Wonderful. I did want to agree with one of the comments you guys made earlier about women not needing to take advice from other women. In my personal situation in the past, my ex took advice from her friends, and it caused the relationship to end. She thought she could get financial gain. In the end, it didn't quite work out for her, and I ended up getting 50-50 custody of my son. So, it really worked out great for me. And since then, I met a really nice lady. But in the United States, here in the West, how do we make women great again when they have no incentive to actually behave? I mean, the woman you can marry today, she can change her mind 3 to 6 years down the line, and if she wants to start displaying bad behavior and leave, I mean, there's really nothing that can really be done about it.
Well, hang on. I can respond to this
woman
right off the bat. I went through a pretty nasty fucking breakup with my pseudo ex-wife. And guess what? I publicly shamed the shit out of her for it. And I make no apology for that. There's 500,000 people now know that she's a fucking professional hooker. And she didn't want the world to know that. She didn't want her family to know that. And guess what? Yeah. That's the truth. There's no defamation. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. And I told the fucking world, and I had to put my balls and my company on the line to do that. And I risked a lot to do it. But I did it not only for myself and for the men that were around me, but for the wider culture that needed to hear this shit. Women who act like trash need to be shown to the world that they're fucking trash. And that's a very positive thing. Shame is not a negative thing, or at least long-term, it's a very positive thing. It's a healthy thing for people who act like fucking dirtbags. So, and that's an example. I mean, not every guy has a fucking conference and a YouTube channel and a production company to do that. But I know that there are a lot of guys who came up to me immediately when I gave that speech, Marrying Medusa, who were so thankful that I gave it for a variety of different reasons for what they experienced in their life. And I've gotten nothing but positive comments almost from that speech. Ironically, it's a very, very brazen kind of speech I gave on it, 2 hours almost. But yeah, there are consequences in that case, social shame. And I brought that out at a level that I think is unique on YouTube and on the internet. I don't know of another speech like it anywhere in the world.
Nope.
Where a wife acted like was a complete fucking prostitute and then got fucking shamed for it in public at a really high level. I think it'll probably hit 1 million views someday at this rate if it doesn't get banned off YouTube. So there are consequences, man. And that's just one very specific example. But that I think has been very therapeutic for a lot of guys who didn't have the ability to do that. But they're like, fuck yeah, I'm glad that happened. And I've gotten, a lot of support for it since then.
And I don't want to be an asshole here, a-hole, excuse me, but
go ahead.
Why do you care if she leaves? I mean, I know you care about her, but part of sacrifice is standing by your principles. If she wants to have an attitude, she's got one. But hold on, one thing I want to say is what you failed to mention in all this, young sir, is that you allowed your woman to do the most disrespectful thing, and that's put your business on the street and allow her friends to dictate your relationship instead of checking that behavior. This is the end result of not checking it, man.
Go ahead, caller. You can respond to that.
In my situation, when she misbehaved, I ended up just leaving and going after 50-50 custody of my son.
And you got it though, right? You got the 50-50 custody?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
Since then, she tried to come back, and I said, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I already said what I'm going to do, and you don't want to do it, so I'm not dealing with that. So I really didn't care that she left, other than the fact that I just didn't want to lose custody of my son. And since I won in court, things have been great.
Let me ask you a question here. What exactly, what was the bad advice that your now ex-wife got from her friends? Do you remember what bad advice that she got?
Yeah, she wanted to move into a $350,000 house. We had a home that was already paid off. We weren't married, so that kind of made the process a little bit easier for me to kind of flip out of there. But I said, look, this house is already paid for. It doesn't make sense. She wanted to move, and I said, all right, well, go move. I'm not coming with you. So that's pretty much how it ended.
Okay.
Now I'm stuck with a mortgage. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to circle back to your first question or your first statement. I heard that you said in there, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you said there's nothing that can be done. You said, how can we make women great again? And you said that there's nothing that can be done to improve a woman's behavior. Am I mischaracterizing or misquoting that?
No, there's things that can be done, but I said there's no incentive for them to behave. So
gotcha.
The person you get with today, in the United States at least, if they decide they want to change their behavior and they don't want to play ball with you and they have your last name, say 5 to 10 years down the road, she's like, okay, you're in California. She's been with you for 10 years.
Okay, let me stop you right there because
now you're stuck with lifetime alimony.
Yeah. So here is, and I guess I don't want to be counterproductive or counterintuitive, but a woman has to, you said women don't have incentive to be with men. Sure they do. And that's what starts with you, right? My girlfriend, she has a lot of incentive to be with me, right? You need to make yourself, and again, don't do this for the sole purpose of being attractive to women. We say all the time, just be a man, do man shit, have goals, don't make women number one, and women are naturally going to be attracted to you. But if a woman who is with you doesn't see any incentive to be with you, at some point, she'll find an incentive not to be with you. So I want you to understand that, yes, it sucks that your wife, your ex-wife did what she did. But I think what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take accountability. You're going to have to say to yourself, somewhere down the line, I fucked up, right? Yeah, listen, don't get me wrong, man. Like, your ex-wife is bad and she's terrible and all this other kind of stuff. But it's a two-way street. Because if a woman really loves and wants to be with you, and if you are worth being with, then guess what? She'll make consent. Listen, when I was in Vegas, I've had single mothers leave their kids at home to come and fuck me in my Vegas high rise right off the strip, right? Guess what? That's a lot of trouble for her to do, but because it was worth it for her to spend time with me, she did whatever she had to do. Women, people, men, women, if they really want something, they'll do what it takes to get it. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm not trying to bag on you because dude, I was in a bad marriage too. Like, my wife was a terrible wife, but I wasn't really worth much. This is why she acted up. So I think somewhere along the way, you're going to have to take accountability and say, okay, my wife fucked up and she did some fucked up shit and she took bad advice from her friends, but she wouldn't have taken bad advice from her friends had I been a better man. And I'm not saying that your woman acted up because you were a bad man. No, your woman acted up because you didn't require her to act right. And I think that's where a lot of men need to understand. Okay, women are poorly behaved, yes, but women only do what you allow them to do to you. Does that make sense, caller?
Oh, yeah, that definitely makes sense. I mean, since then, I've been in a relationship the last year with a Latina lady, and she's been great. She's completely a 180 different from the woman I was with long term. But I did tell her, I'm not getting married in this system just because the risk is just too high. If things change down the line, I don't want to be paying for you.
Right. Well, thanks.
Yeah, I support that too. Donovan, I can hop on with this caller too. I know he's getting off or whatever. Or if he does or he doesn't, it's no big deal. But one of the distinctions I didn't hear him make is that you have two kinds of incentives. You have positive and negative, right?
Right.
Minimum. So I think what he's referring to is that there's a lack of negative external, social, cultural, legal incentives for women to act up. Whereas there used to be a lot. If you got divorced 100 years ago, it wasn't like now, I think it is, right? This is a fucking shit show that is systemically biased against men and in favor of women, where they get all these goodies. They might be in a happy marriage, but they're incentivized to blow it up and take all the money and run with all the assets and the kids and stuff. So that is new. That's not normal. And that's something that feminists and women have pushed for a long time, to eliminate, mitigate, or reduce negative incentives for bad behavior. And then also, we've seen also, they still benefit from being around men. There's a positive incentive there if you are a great man. But they've also been working hard to replace men and use government as a bigger alpha daddy instead. Single motherhood would be the most extreme example of that, I think, the single motherhood welfare state. So there's a lot going on, and it's like, his question really is huge. It's like, how do you undo these catastrophic changes that women and feminists have done to the culture and legal systems and 50 states and all this stuff for decades upon decades? It's hard. There is no fucking like quick answer to it other than we fight, we stand the fuck up, we speak, we make shit happen. We're men. That's what we do. And I think the founding of this country is a much greater challenge than it will be to destroy feminism and build a more positive masculine future where men and women actually get along. Men act like men and women act like women the vast majority of the time.
Right. Phil, let me ask you a question, because you and I seem to be like-minded in a lot of different ways. The long and the short of my relationship is I met my girlfriend almost 4 years ago. And when I met her, I wasn't looking for a relationship. She was looking for guidance. And what I did is I quite literally trained her for a year and 1.5, 18 months, just like you said, put her through her paces. And I made her earn my commitment. I made her earn this. I want you to talk to my guys, talk to the audience about the importance of making a woman earn your commitment. In Steve's case, earn your last name, because most people, specifically women, they only value what they're required to work for. You didn't just give your wife your commitment after 1 month of fucking her. No. You said, listen, man, like it's subconscious. Okay, this is going to be a process. She seems to have what it takes on the outside, but let's see who she really is. Talk to my audience about, or talk to the audience rather, about the process that you took in terms of vetting your woman and getting her to where she needs to be a fit at-home mom.
So when we started dating, she was working full time. She had a really good job actually, and you know, I'm my own business, so we're doing okay. She had a condo downtown, and I was, you know, we just started dating, and as we progressed, you know, I noticed certain things. I really enjoyed being around her. The time we spent together was great.
Right.
You know, there were certain attributes. I was like, okay, you know, this makes me a little nervous because once again, I divorced a complete chameleon. We're talking my ex-wife.
Yeah,
man, like it was like 1 minute she was okay, and we got married, and it was like it was crazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother story. So
you and I have very similar experiences. This is weird talking to you. It's almost like talking.
Yeah.
You almost kind of look the same, except for I'm black and you're white. And
it's all right, man. But so as we progressed, we dated for a good, I would say almost a year before she moved in full time. You know, we were staying at the condo, or we were staying here at the house, and she moved in, and I'll never forget. She's probably watching right now, which is going to be great, you know. But when she moved in, you know, the first time we went to the grocery store, you know, she just kind of haphazardly threw the food in the refrigerator. I'm like, oh no, this is not. They can't go like that, you know. And so this is just one instance, you know. And I was like, no, it needs to be this way, you know. And so we had a few scrapes over that, and guess what? Now I don't put the groceries away. She takes care of it. I bring them in from the vehicle.
There you go.
She puts them away.
God, all right.
Another thing, you know, she's really good at ironing and clothes, which is good. So like, I'm always like looking right, you know what I mean? So I don't have to worry about that, you know. And the next thing was, it's just kind of like, as we progressed in our relationship, you know, I laid out my expectations, you know. You don't leave the house unless you're put together. You're representing me.
That's right.
Okay. So my daughter Veda has to be at school at 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning. My wife is dressed and ready for her day at that time. She gets up in the morning, and while I'm getting up and getting ready to go train, she's like, would you like your espresso in the bedroom, or would you like it in the kitchen before you leave? You know, and over time, you know, in working with her, she has developed these skills on her own to where, you know, she is trying to make, I guess you would say, my life easier, so I can do the things I need to do to make our life better.
There you go, man.
You know, a lot of guys, you know, when you're married, I don't give a shit what anybody says. It's transactional. It
absolutely is.
If you're gonna be the head of the household and you're gonna make all the money, she's gonna take care of the house and the kids and take care of everything else. You're provisioning for her. It's your responsibility.
That's right.
So if I'm gonna do that for you, if I'm gonna go ahead and, if the haters and the red pillars want to call me a cuck or whatever, that's fine. Simp or whatever they want to call me, that's fine. You know, the moral of the story is I got mine. You know what I mean? And she has hers. So as we've went through the years, it's almost now to where it's second nature, you know. And it's just
Phil, with that transactional thing, I think a lot of people hear that word transactional and they make it like this dirty thing, but really it's an exchange of values.
Of course.
You bring value to her life, and she wants that in her life. That's why she's there. She brings value to your life in a variety of ways, from sex to putting the fucking groceries away, all the like A to Z, right? You want her in your life, and it makes your life better. So I think men and women getting along is just a value exchange, and it doesn't have to be sugar babies. It can be a happy, healthy marriage and family.
That's right. And, and we're constantly working together to combat all the things that we face on a day to day, So the moral of the story is, we're getting pulled as human beings. We're getting pulled over here, over here, over here, over here. In the end, I tell her all the time, it's my way or you got to go.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. My way or you got to go.
Covertate is a great thing. Comply or goodbye.
That's right. And the second thing is we're a friggin' team.
That's right.
We got to combat this. If I'm going to leave my house and swing the sword, you got to make sure we don't get flanked.
That's right.
And that's how we run our house. And it's interesting because a lot of the like-minded individuals that I speak to, I have to go to 21Con, or I have to, I'm in the fraternity of excellence, or I have digital friends. I mean, a lot of the people around us do not live like that.
No.
It's like, oh, I got to ask the boss before I can do anything. Go smoke cigars. I can't go smoke cigars.
Man.
So it's just really, really different, and I think that as far as that goes, and it translates over to my daughter, she's 15. And so she's watched this play out since we've been together. We're coming up on 11 years. Or 10 and a half, and the moral of the story is that precedent is set with my child now.
Right.
And so I've broke that chain to the point to where her standards are set and she's looking for a guy like me.
Yep.
And so the guy she just broke up with, all-star football player, A student in his school, he's freshman playing varsity football. I mean, you can't refute that. That's evidence right there. That's evidentiary, So
I think not only that, that's biology. Now, you had me, Phil, up until you talked about ironing and getting up early, because Devin's good at a lot of things. Ironing and getting up early, not one of them. So that's where you and she brings other things to the table. Let's just put it that way. But I think Phil brings up an excellent point, and I'm actually going to come to Steve with this. And the problem with men and women of all ages, really, I don't think this is a generational thing at all. Men want to be the boss without the cost. They want to be in charge, and they want to be able to run shit, and they want to do man shit, but then they don't want to take on the responsibility of being the emotional rock and support for their woman, right? If you're going to be the boss, guess what? Your woman's going to defer to you. She's going to ask you, what are we having for dinner?
Can you repeat that part? The boss without, that's a really good way to put it. Boss without the cost, was it?
You can't be they say it all the time. It costs to be the boss. Guys want to be the boss without any of the cost. And it's the same thing with women. They want all the benefits. They want to be able to go out here and get a high value guy without doing what's necessary to get that high value guy. They think that just having 2X chromosomes is enough, and it's not enough. And that's why they're disappointed on the other side of the coin. Men, I want to be a boss alpha, and I want to do this and I want to do that. They get into what they believe is an alpha relationship. God, why is my girlfriend asking me this all the time? Because she defers to you, my friend. If you want her to submit to you, submission comes with domination. And here's where else we part ways here, Phil. This is not a democracy in this household. This is 100% a dictatorship. I own 95. I'm the 95% shareholder. Devin is a 5. Now, of course, I exaggerate for effect, and I say that tongue in cheek, but that's the way it is. I'm going to come to Steve here because something that you and Steve have in common in your relationships is that you both married women who were well off financially when you met them. Steve's wife was very well off financially when they met, and he was a high enough value male for her to give that up to be with him. So, Steve, talk to us about how that happened.
Well, it happened like all relationships that happen. I always say everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to be a lion. Everybody wants to say they want certain things, but you put a woman in front of them, it tells you the truth about what they really are. I didn't really care about where she came from, how much money she had, and all this other stuff. Matter of fact, when I first met her, I asked her, I tried to take her out. She said no to me. I told her I don't ask twice, and I ain't talked to her for months until she came back to me. So, but the thing about it was she knew what she got with me. And with a lot of guys, like I always say, she saw vision in me. She saw a man that saw the big picture. She saw a man that sets direction, saw a man that's transparent. I didn't lie. I didn't manipulate. I didn't deceive. I was founded and had a strong foundation of me. I knew who I was. I had a mission statement, a vision statement, a legacy statement, principles, models, codes, rules, laws. I was all together. And the thing that women love is an all together man. They don't want somebody they got to tell what to do, like you see on these sucker me season commercial ads now that are be putting out, making men look like fools and stuff. But like you were saying, for a lot of guys out there, you want to play the game, but you don't even know the rules of the game to even play it. For a lot of these guys out there, they're scared of women. I've always said that. A lot of guys are scared of women. So that means they're automatically walking on eggshells. Women don't want you to come in scared. Women want you to come in where you're fearless, you have direction, you get things done, you act decisively, you take fear. I mean, you're fearless and you take risks. These are the things she wants because it goes back to nature. Things that women love, animal in the animal kingdom, they love about the alphas is the dominance and being able to procreate with someone who can create a legacy of strong kids. You know, that's what women want. Now, what some women will do is they will marry what I call an alpha beta. And that's kind of like I always say, a zebra in the animal kingdom is an alpha until you put it up against a lion. Then the dynamics change. So for a lot of guys out there, they've got to stop pretending that there's something and be something.
Let me pose, and that was very well said. I'm glad that you put it that way, because guys have to understand you have to put in the work. Anthony, I'm going to start with you on this one. I see comments in the chat all the time. Go MGTOW, give up on women. One guy put in my chat, and I'm not hating on this guy, but it says, are these guys jokers or something? They're trying to make us think there's hope with women. And you want to know something, Anthony? I can't blame him for that. Just given the state of today, and sometimes I go off on these guys, but sometimes I have to slow down. I have to cool my hands off and say, you want to know something? Their frustration is coming from somewhere. There really are men out here who have given up. In their minds, it's not even worth it. What do you say to guys who have completely given up on relationships on any level with women?
So first thing is, I agree with you that there's a reason this is happening. I mean, there's a reason these guys are doing that, and I respect those reasons, even if I don't agree with what they want to do, how they want to live their life. Some of it I might. I think a lot of MGTOW gets they get along the least with the rest of the manosphere. They're kind of like the outcast of the group, the redhead stepchild, I think, of the four tribes. But I think what you're referring to basically is a sociological framing or view of that issue, that men are doing this. MGTOW is not a small community. It's got hundreds of thousands of men involved with it and taking these kinds of actions. And there are reasons that they're doing that. They're not just randomly fucking giving up on women. MGTOW doesn't exist now, didn't exist, or it exists now, but it didn't exist 200 years ago for a fucking reason. Culture has changed. Times have changed. Men and women, how we interact, have changed, especially in America and in the West, right? And there's big problems with this. So I respect that MGTOW exists, and I think there are very legitimate reasons that it exists for specific segments of the population. Guys are Socrates is called MGTOW the bottom tier of the male SMB, of the male sexual marketplace. And so this is, I think, there's different reasons they choose this lifestyle. But yeah, as far as guys doing that, what do I say to them? I go back to the founding of the United States. Is how far back I go with it. They think there's no hope with women and everything's fucked and blah, blah, blah. They think that both personally, I think, in most cases, obviously, but then also they think that wider to culture and society and stuff. And that's bullshit. I really believe that the founding generation, people talk about the founding fathers and they refer usually to the founding six, but really the founding generation of this country went through incredible turmoil and chaos and fighting and blood and guts spilled all over the fucking place to found this country and create it. That was a huge masculine challenge that those men had to take and that those women at the time had to support their men in doing. Very much like, Phil's wife supports him in his life and as a leader of his family and the patriarch. So what they went through in the founding of this country, the founding generation of America, was exponentially, I think, more difficult than it is to make women great again. Not to underscore that this is a huge undertaking that's very difficult. And I do understand why he believes, they believe the situation is dire and hopeless. I don't think they're right, they're wrong. But it's not the end of the world to think that way. And you need to really what they're lacking is perspective.
Right.
Generations of men before us have gone through way worse shit I'm just looking at America and the founding. Never mind, look at fucking Europe and the wars they've gone through over and over and over again. The blood spilled. Just at World War II. Never mind World War I, and then the wars before that. I mean, the shit men have gone through, our great grandfathers and beyond, is way harder than getting up in public and speaking about how to make women great again. Get the fuck out of here. You know. So I don't mean to be too flippant about it, but
no, I understand.
Yeah, quit being pussies, man. Like, this can be done. Men have done way more amazing shit before us and accomplish that as a group, as men, as fathers, as leaders, as statesmen, as business leaders and entrepreneurs and beyond. So yeah, the idea that this is hopeless and lost is fucking delusional. This country is still thriving and alive and doing pretty well, in my opinion, in a lot of different ways in the West. And we can turn the ship around culturally, and it's going to be probably a little painful. There's going to be a lot of, look at feminists now. They scream in the streets over anything, right?
Right.
President Trump, Donald Trump wins the presidency. They're screaming literally in day one out in the streets, flipping over cars and whatever the fuck else they're doing. But whatever, we can win. Like, this is a winnable fight, and harder wars of many kinds have been fought before us. And we don't give up. This is fucking stupid. Why would you do that?
Right.
That's what feminists want you to do, is they want you to give up. They want you to leave. They want you to fucking surrender. Don't do it. You can win.
I would agree with that. And I think that something else to keep in mind is that we're in a generation where people expect things to be easy, right? Like, again, I mean, and I'm seeing people here in the chats. And again, I'm not trying to besmirch these people, but we get guys that the system is hard to compete against. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. The system is hard to fight, et cetera, et cetera. And to that, I say anything worth fighting for it's not going to be easy. Of course, their rebuttal, well, women aren't worth fighting for. Sure they are. It is evolutionarily and biologically necessary, right? Like, what we have to understand is that as bad as women are, they are a necessary evil. Now, they don't have to be a necessary evil, but you're going to have to deal with women whether you like it or not. And no matter what you say to us or in the chat, you still want to be in a relationship with a woman, no matter what you say to us. And I would say this, and I'm going to come to Phil with this. I would submit to you that the loudest detractors, the people who talk the most shit, the guys who shout the loudest from the highest mountaintops, to hell with women, they're not worth it. I think those are the guys in the most pain. I think those are the guys who want relationships with women the most, because if their lives really were about or not about women, then why even come in here and talk all day about how they're done with women, right?
Yeah, exactly. My thought process on that is, when it comes to women, you're absolutely correct. They're a necessary evil. As a man, you leave behind what?
Right.
Your legacy.
Yes.
Your legacy. Your seed is your legacy. So it's up to you to be the man that can land a decent woman. The problem is these guys, these men today they're like a bunch of lawn chairs. They're easy to fold up and put away. The work that I do, I mean, I own construction companies. I own 2 of them. Okay. We do man's work. And when people don't show up, I got to do the work.
That's right.
I don't care. I'm going to do it. You know what? A lot of guys, I'm too tired. I can't go train. I can't do this. I can't do that. Shut up. Be a man.
Right.
And that's really where I'm at with a lot of guys that I deal with on the day to day. They make excuses and I say, well, you don't want it bad enough then. Quit being a baby. You're going to do what it takes. You're going to put the hard work in. I don't care what it is. Anthony's absolutely right. The wars fought before this little skirmish we got here, par in comparison.
Oh, and that's what this is. This is a skirmish. This is nothing compared to the revolution, man.
Yeah, exactly. All of them, and that's the thing is, these as men, they want to sit here and bray and cry about women and, they're hopeless and, get a doll or whatever, forget that, man. You need to put the work in. You gotta figure out a way to find quality women, and the only way you're going to find a quality woman is to be a quality man. And that's just the point.
They have a lot of options. I mean, it's not just like the quality of women in America, I think, has gone down, and that's part of what's going on is the average dude can't find something. In
Right.
addition to all this propaganda they've been fed throughout their life about how to basically be an effeminate, fake man. But I will say, first of all, they can always expatriate. They can go to other countries and find a wife there. And that's one of the methods of doing that, right? Private marriage and prenups and things like that can help as well. Like I did in my case with a private marriage, I didn't do a prenup. I'd avoided the whole thing legally in the first place in terms of trying to build a family and stuff like that. What I will say too, though, is that I have some of the books in the background here, but Nicholas Nassim Taleb is an author that's written several books, Fooled by Randomness, The Black Swan, things like that. And there are major events that are going to happen in the coming years and decades, as they always have, that we don't see coming, and we're not even aware of them, even remotely, that they're coming in front of us. Who the fuck expected Donald Trump to become president in 2010?
Shit, I didn't.
Nobody. Fucking nobody.
And I was like, wait a minute, he's not. Is he? He's
yeah.
When like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
That's a major black swan event that fucking nobody saw coming. That's having real changes and tension in this country, and it's still ongoing. We're in the middle of it still, right? So that's just one example of that, though. But look at things like, for example, we might see the sexual marketplace fundamentally change in a positive direction if men get access to really good, what do they call it? That Vasogel or not Vasogel?
Male birth control.
Male birth control, but gel that gives men control over the reproductive ability without getting a vasectomy or wearing a condom. So that would be a huge push in the right direction against female birth control that's been around since the 60s or whatever, that I think's been a major contributor along with feminism to why women are acting up the way they are today. So there's all kinds of technology and stuff like that we're not even, some of that we're aware of, obviously, because we're talking about it, but there's stuff like that we're not even aware of yet that's going to happen, 8 years from now or 12 years from now or whatever the fuck, that are probably going to have, some of it will have negative changes against us, maybe more technology and stuff that might, further screw things up. But some of it might also be a lot better at things we're not seeing yet. And that's why you need to keep calm, keep the fight on, and start pushing in the right direction. And 22 Convention to Make Women Great Again is a really good example of that. It's the best thing I can do that I fucking know of. That's what I'm fighting for at this point, alongside the 21 Convention and everything else that we do with the Red Man Group and stuff.
Anthony, I think at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to compare this to, the people who fought in the revolution. I'm not trying to compare us to that at all. But I think what men of this generation, men who are alive now, men in the manosphere, we're going to have to wrap our minds around, we're going to have to resolve ourselves to the fact that we're not going to be alive to reap the benefits of what we're doing today. Because what we're doing today, it's going to take a long time to take effect. At some point, feminism is going to be vanquished. Like it has to. That's just the natural order of things. Men have and always will be the dominant sex. Right now, men are being controlled by women, but at some point, somebody actually said it in here. At some point, natural selection it's naturally going to weed out all of the beta bitch boys and all of the purple-haired, cat-covered feminists, right?
Yeah.
Feminine women want to breed with masculine men and vice versa. So at some point...
That's actually a really good example I forgot to mention, Donovan, that most feminists, these ones that are avoiding motherhood and, having children...
Nobody wants to put babies in them in the first place.
Well, they're also, exactly. But what you're saying, too, is that they're weeding themselves out of the gene pool. And along with weeding themselves out, they're weeding out their ideas. They're reducing their ability to spread their fucking damage and chaos and poison. To other people. That's another thing that's happening, and we're in the middle of it. We don't see the outcome of that yet 10 years from now, 20 years from now. We just see it right now, and that's growing as these millennial chicks have 1 kid or 0 and all that. So
no, I agree with you. I think that, and I never thought of it that way until you just said it, with these militant feminists taking themselves out of the gene pool, what they're doing, and let's just call it what it is. A lot of these guys who are swearing off women and I don't want to have any. Okay, that's fine. What you're doing, it's just like this guy said in the chat. What is happening is the inferior specimens are weeding themselves out of the gene pool, right? The guy who calls himself an incel, who lives with his mom and jerks off the porn. Thank God he can't reproduce. The militant feminist who is always on birth control. She got the Norplant 13 years ago and still having unprotected sex. She has blue hair. She's 37 years old. Thank God she's never going to have kids, right? At some point, the natural selection is going to weed these people out. But like I said, we're not going to be around. Dude, I'll be 6 feet under by the time what we're doing today really starts to take hold and take effect. And
maybe not. You know, there's definitely a chance that you're hitting the nail on the head, but also not. I think the internet has really changed. There's been so much occurring in the West and in the world since, like, with the rise of sexual liberation, bullshit, feminism, birth control, the internet. I mean, look, the internet has sped up communication and ideas and information to ridiculous speeds. Like, so things, I don't know, Donovan. I mean, you're older than me, but you're not that much older. And we might see some really positive changes. Who knows? Maybe 20 years from now, maybe 25, maybe 10.
I don't know.
You know?
I guess I'm kind of a cynic like that. I just,
Yeah.
I try to be self-aware enough to understand. And I'd actually like to get Phil's take on this. I try to be self-aware enough to understand that I am in kind of an echo chamber. I'm not on feminist channels. I don't go to slut walks. I surround myself with like-minded men. And maybe I'm sort of overcompensating, but the fact that I surround myself with like-minded men all the time kind of makes me aware and conscious of the fact that I'm really not, like, I'm not around other kinds of people like that. So when we have people in this community say, well, the tide is a turn and the tide has changed, and then I go outside my door, I turn on my TV, I go to the movies, it's feminism and blue pill all over again. So I don't know, maybe I'm a cynic like that. What are your thoughts, Phil?
Well, it's, you know, I can agree with you wholeheartedly on that. You know, I surround myself with very masculine people, and the people I interact with share the same views that I have. You know, and as far as TV goes, we don't really watch too much TV in our house.
Good.
You know, so because, you know, those pixels are constantly like, you know, shooting that crap into my daughter's eyes. So I try to really limit that stuff. But you're absolutely right. When you step out the door, you can see it. It's like my wife will look at me and go, okay, there's a sugar baby. Look at how weak that dude is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, and it's everywhere, you know, and I think, as far as feminism goes, you know, unfortunately, it seems where I live in Dallas Fort Worth area. You know, it seems like it's every year it's just getting progressively more prevalent. You know, so women are more and more looking like they don't give a shit. You know, and they don't care about their appearance anymore. And it's kind of like, you know, my daughter goes to private school, and it's, you know, when we started at that school, gosh, she's been there 11 years now. You know, everybody was always all put together. Now it's like my wife and I go to a parent meeting, and we're like the best dressed people in the place.
Yeah.
You know, next to the administrators. You know, you know, I really worry a lot about what's going to happen for my child as she matures and grows up, because the simple fact still remains. You know, she is a young Republican. Yes, she's definitely to the right side. I mean, we're down here in Texas.
Yeah, it's a red state through and through, right?
And you know, she looks at girls, you know, her age, you know, and they've already got, you know, purple hair or mohawks and stuff like that. And she's, you know, it baffles my child that she just can't even believe it, you know. And it's kind of like, well, why would their parents, you know, let them do that, you know? And it's just like, I'm like, thank you for letting me be able to afford to put her through the private school system, you know, because of the indoctrination of public school where we live, it's pretty bad, you know? So I think that as far as feminism goes, I think that it's almost cyclical, you know? So we're like at the Iron Age, and it's going to go a step lower before it starts turning back again. I think eventually it will, you know. Natural selection will pick it up.
Well put, Phil. And I want to say too that with the MGTOW guys and despair they feel on a personal level, and then for wider culture too, different from what Phil's a father and worried about the future of this country and culture for his daughter, but the MGTOW guys are doing that, and they don't have a lot of cases that kind of stuff going on. What I will say though is that, you know, the wars that our grandfathers and great grandfathers fought in and whatnot, these things were massive, massive world conflicts that were very difficult to win and to build the world we're in today. I think what's different emotionally between that kind of chaos, like running up a beach with Nazis literally shooting machine guns at you, this war is much closer to home, and it's nonviolent 99% of the time. So it's a war of culture and of ideas and of you could say even philosophy and like spirit and stuff between men and women, or feminism and you know, positive masculinity. but it's a war being fought in schools and homes and families and relationships. And we are leading the fight on this stuff. The manosphere is by far the world leader of having speakers and ideas and authors gathering together to figure out this information and then deliver it to millions of men every year. So it is a serious battle. More serious battles have come before us, but this one is unique in that it's much closer. It's literally not just closer to home, it's in your home. It's in your family. It's in your relationship. It's all around you. It's when you take your daughter to the school down the road and you see a change over the course of 11 years. And you're like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on? And those are not battles that our great-grandfathers had to fight so much. They were fighting very obvious external enemies in most cases, or at least in the American Revolution, the Civil War, so to speak, at the time. So those lines were a lot clearer, and now that's been in clown world, those lines have been blurred. And also it's not, a kinetic war. There's no actual violence going on usually. So
guys, there are a lot of people in the queue who seem to be fairly confused, right? No, the guy on the screen is not Richard Cooper. I can listen. Motherfucker. You really do look like him. Like when people tune in, wait a minute, is that Richard? No, this is not Richard Cooper. This guy's name is Phil. You guys can follow him on Twitter at Evolved Phil. He is absolutely not Richard. He looks like him. You guys have the same beard, same black, even the same build. But Phil lives in Dallas and Richard lives in
Is that better? I can't see now, but is that better?
I can't see, right. Well, listen, now you definitely look like Richard Cooper right now.
Yeah, it's even worse now, honestly.
I'll end it. Let's go ahead and end this on this last question. And Steve, I'm gonna throw it to you first. How do we get men to band together? Because like we talked about at the top of the show, it would appear that some of our strongest detractors are men. Yes, we have females, feminists, single moms, feminazis all over us all the time. But the ones who seem to be getting the loudest are our fellow man. So rather than, biting back and throwing jabs at one another, what do you think we can do on our end to maybe say, hey guys, let's not fight. Here's an olive branch. Let's take on this problem together, or can it be done?
No, it definitely can't be done. What you got to understand is a lot of these guys, they should pray every day that the lights don't turn off, because the electricity cut off in this world, they would really know that they are at the bottom of the totem pole. And a lot of these guys out here are not strong enough to be men. The thing is, the truth of the matter is, everybody can't make the football team. Everybody can't make the basketball team. The way the world works is that
you get a trophy.
No, well, yeah. Well, the way the world works is that you either hunt or you're hunted. That's it. There's no middle ground in all of this. But the problem is that a lot of these men are so busy just blindly following people. They've got to stop blindly following people and become more single-minded and learn how to be their own community. Like I've always said, when us four are together on the show, we are four different communities coming together to like a transformer type thing. We're connecting because we are our own men. When this turns off, we go back to our own communities and our own lives. Right. Whereas most of these guys out here, they have a bloodline or a connection to somebody waiting for either the YouTuber or the author or whoever to let these guys know what to do next. And they don't let them or allow them to think for themselves. If you want to complain about women, that you can do that. But on this side of the thing, I don't see no problem. There's no issues over here. But if you have those issues, you have them. But the thing that these young men have to do is they got to push away their ego. They got to push aside their self-importance. Yeah, right. And what they got to do is they got to learn, because the only way you're going to learn is by following somebody who has what you want. And the only way to get what he has is that you have got to begin to ask questions instead of putting your opinion, your thought, because you only seep to your level. So your opinion and your thought to a master doesn't matter. That's like me going in the operating room trying to tell a surgeon how to perform open heart surgery. Who the hell am I? He's gonna look at me and say, "Get your ass out of here." But a lot of these young men think because they have a voice that their voice means something. The internet has done the worst thing, and it gave a grassy lion a voice to think there's something that they're not. So, you know, at the end of the day, they got to learn how to push aside their self-importance and their ego, and then maybe then they can learn. That's it, brother.
Okay. Phil, what are your thoughts? Do you think that we can get men to band together? Is it a lost cause? If not, what can we do on our end to get men to stop fighting over this thing and work together?
You know, I'll go back to my original thing, and that's, you know, that hate, you know, that people harbor inside, you know. So, you know, you see guys that are successful and you want that, you need to just suck it up and accept that you're less than. And if you want it, go learn about it. You know, it's no big deal. The game is to be sold, not told. Ed Lanamore says it, you know, and it might cost you some bucks, you know, to get, if you want to level up and do something. So what? In the end, it's going to put you in a place that you're looking to be. I mean, nothing in this life comes at you for free, you know. So I think as far as men go, we need to figure out a way to come together. So Anthony's put together the 21 convention. Okay. Has some great guys speaking, all different backgrounds, all different kinds of people attending it. That is one avenue. The thing is the voice needs to be louder. It needs to be spread and cast a little bit further, you know, and that falls on guys like Donovan and Steve and Anthony and myself, or whoever gets out there and speaks. You know, you need to not only cast to your audience, but you need to be an example or exemplify that, you know, that masculine spirit. And,
Right.
you know, as far as it taking hold, I think it will. I think it's just going to be a long, slow process to get it there, because guys are comfortable, man.
They are.
They don't want to put the work in, you know, and it's just like, they're lazy. They'd rather, they're like hibernating bears, you know, and, you know, and
porn, dude, they're porn, they're sex dolls. If a guy can get off in the comfort of his own home without having to do anything but eat fucking Cheetos and hoes, then why in the world would he want to make something of himself? Right.
Yeah. And see, and I don't even get that. You know, I like the smell of a woman, man. I don't give a shit,
dude. I mean, I don't know. Call me crazy. And for the record, somebody in the chat says that your beard is better than Richard Cooper. So
yes, thank you, whoever said that. Gracias.
on the note of the sex dolls, I do want to make a point that some of these, there's a qualitative difference between doing that and then marrying one. And there's some of them, you know, TFM, if I understand, back in the day, he was on the show a long time ago. He married a doll. And there's some dudes who do that, and that's fucking crazy. That's like women marrying themselves or marrying dogs and shit.
Yeah, that's
which women are doing now. Like, there's actually, you know, news reports on this shit. So those are just actually both expressions of more and more dysfunction between men and women in the culture.
Yep.
And you know, we'll laugh at guys doing that, but women are doing the same shit, man.
Yeah.
And we'll laugh at them too. Obviously, we'll laugh at them too when they marry themselves or a pet or something.
You know, but that's corrosive to this actual thing. In my thought process is that actually is corroding when other guys are corroding, you know, oh, well, blow women off and just give up. That corrodes the direction I feel that this is going. And that's just my opinion.
No, that's not an opinion. That's a fact, man. And you want to know what the scariest part about this is?
Well, hang on. I challenge this, though, because they're no longer feeding a system that's using and abusing them. They're trying to stand on the sidelines. How successful they are in doing that, I don't know. But what I don't want them doing is getting divorce raped and sucked into a system that will cause them to kill themselves or something like that.
And guys think they don't have a choice. They think they either have to sit it out or subject themselves to that torture. And we're here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. There is absolutely, I don't want to call it a happy medium, but there is an alternative solution. You can, dare I say, go your own way. If you know, I don't really know how to put it any more eloquently than that. And again, I think that men should understand that it's not a crime. It doesn't make you a simp. It doesn't make you a cuck to admit that you like the way women smell, the way they feel, the way they make you feel. That doesn't mean that you have to blindly go and subject yourself to unnecessary risk. You have to be able to mitigate that risk, but it starts with you. It doesn't start with women. It starts with you. That's why this is called the 22 convention, right? The 21 convention has been around for almost, well, for over a decade, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that people, why are you focusing on, no, the 22 convention is a natural byproduct of the 21 convention.
Yeah.
The 22 convention is going to be ran by guys who have their shit together, who understand that the change starts with me. You can't change women unless you change yourself, gentlemen. That's how this works. Women are incapable of changing and improving themselves. So who's going to change women? Them? Right? The culture, the media? No, it's on men to lead and guide women. That's why the 22 convention is in existence today.
One thing that's been abundantly clear too is that women are not going to start that process at all. That has not happened in years and decades, and I don't think it's going to happen. Men have to absolutely kickstart this fire, throw gasoline on it, throw a match on it. There's at this point, women have demonstrated to the point of absolute clarity that they're not going to fix their shit. So men need to step up, do something about it, and from there we'll see what happens. I have hope that some women will step up positively and do some things like Janice Fiamengo, Dr. Helen Smith. There's some powerful female speakers that say some really good shit, but there's not that many. And men need to step up and take lead with this, take charge like we do with everything else.
Yeah, agreed. Thumpy Yar says, I understand the MGTOW guys and they are putting pressure on females along with us. He said it's not exactly corrosive to us. Yes, it is. Because men, again, what we have to understand, and Thump, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but here's where you're wrong. It is corrosive. Well, you know what? It's only corrosive to men who are going to check out anyway. Here's the thing. Feminists, just like Anthony said, women who, I'm never going to get married, I'm never going to have a family. Dudes aren't trying to fuck y'all anyway. Dudes ain't trying to put babies in you anyway. Then guys who call themselves MGTOWs, which I call scabs, well, fuck it, I'm swearing off all females. Those are men who are not good with women in the first place. You know what women are saying about these guys who call themselves MGTOWs or incels? They're laughing. They're like, dude, okay, you're going your own way. We didn't want to fuck you guys anyway. You're not putting any pressure on us. We're not trying to fuck with you guys anyway. Big thanks goes out to Barry's Voice with the $25 super chat. He says, according to barrysvoice.com, so I don't catch heat from the MGTOW community, according to Barry, he says, I truly believe MGTOW is the male equivalent of feminism. We cannot afford to allow this movement to continue to grow. Good counsel, he says, is the answer. Sacrifice is the answer. Therefore, accountability is absolutely essential. I wholeheartedly agree. Feminists have sworn off everything. And guys who call themselves MGTOWs, they're not MGTOWs. That's not what. No. These are guys who are using women as an excuse not to improve themselves. No, don't improve yourself with the sole purpose of trying to be good with women. Improve yourself for yourself, and women will naturally follow. I'll let everybody comment on that, and then we'll go ahead and end the show. Phil, what are your thoughts?
I just wanted to circle back around just real quick and on the divorce rape thing. When men are getting with these women, and you can see the writing on the wall relatively early. And sometimes they're a good chameleon. Like my ex-wife was a good chameleon. But, when I saw the writing on the wall and we were splitting, I was prepared. I walked away with my business, my house, 50-50 custody. And now I have managing custody of my daughter at 15. Wow. Once the war starts, you cannot let your foot off the gas. So, the whole, I don't want to date a woman because I don't want to get divorced, raped and all that stuff. I don't want to get, okay, well, then you need to be responsible. You need to pay attention to what you're doing, and make sure that you're not throwing your own self under the friggin' wheels of the bus, so to speak. I think that, there are steps you can take to prevent that from happening. Granted, in some states, like California, you live with a woman, you're going to pay alimony. Well, guess what? I got a new job over here in Rhode Island.
Right.
Move, then pull the trigger. You see, there's ways around everything. You just got to find those ways. You got to put the work in, I think to just cast women out, and just say, oh, well, they're hopeless. I'm fortunate. I'm a little bit older. I'm 46 years old. I've been married now for a while. I don't have to go and look at the dating pool, but I see what's out there and I understand the frustration of men. I get it.
No argument for me either, man. I get it.
Before going to Poland, my first scouting trip in the spring, before I went there in the summer for the convention again, I was feeling that despair, man. I feel what these guys feel. And I have game and I do bang hot chicks. And even with that, I'm like, dude, this is nuts. Like, especially in a city like Orlando, like a pretty large American city, it's getting bad, man. It's getting worse every year. it's getting so bad so fast that my friends and I that live around here and go out and pick up chicks, it's like, are we imagining how bad this is getting, or is this shit just going like way off the rails? And it's going off the fucking rails. Dating even in 2009 and picking up chicks was way different than it is in 2019. But going to Poland was a big breath of fresh air for me, and it was very positive, and it showed me what women can be and what they should be, with much healthier cultural norms and things like that. And rant.
And it all starts with the family, you know, and what kind of presence their parents have. Those are very family-oriented people over there in Europe, you know. Yep. And had the fortunate experiences that my dad was in the military, so we traveled all over the world. I've seen all different kinds of cultures. You know, I've seen a plethora of them. And American culture is definitely on the downward spiral. You know, with the 22 convention, I believe, you got AJ running it and speaking, and a good lineup of speakers as well behind him. I think as a first conference and having those kinds of men, okay, this is what a masculine man looks like. This is what a guy that has his shit together looks like.
Right.
This is what you're looking for. Ignore that and let's work on this. Let's work on the greater good. That's where I'm at with it.
Good. And at the end of the day, I think we all agree that the sexual marketplace and the marketplace in general, it's going to weed out the wants from the want-nots. If you're a guy who doesn't think it's worth it to pursue women, okay, that's fine. Then we don't want you in the gene pool. If you're a woman who thinks that all men are evil and you want to dye your hair purple on one side and orange on the other and have bull rings in your lips, that's great. We don't want anybody breeding with you either. I think in the end, evolution wins, and so does natural selection. On that note, that's going to draw, I believe, what is the 88th edition of the Red Man Group to a close?
89.
89th. Oh, good God. It's moving faster than I thought. Phil, my first time being on with you. You represented yourself very well. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for making time for us today, sir.
Thank you so much. You can find me at Evolve Phil on Twitter.
Very good. Steve, the Dean, as always, man, when me and you get on the show, it gets a little bit crazy. Yesterday was definitely rowdy, but I think today, I think we tamed it down a little bit. But I appreciate Steve being on the show as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I just want to say on the subject, you can be a mid-towel, bit-towel, kit-towel. You can be a soda pop or a comb. The truth of the matter is, you're gonna know what you are when you get in front of a woman. So if it's gonna be a mid-towel today because that's the new thing to call yourselves, then in 20 years y'all come up with a brand new name. But at the end of the day, when you peel away all those things, you put yourself in front of a woman, you're gonna really learn your truth. That's
exactly right. That's exactly right. Anthony, thanks for putting this whole Red Man Group thing together. It's a pleasure running it. Barry's Voice with another $10 super chat says, for the record, I was married for 11 years to a chameleon. Visually, she was a 10, but inside she was a 3. Whose fault was that? Mine, you faggoty MGTOWers, he says. I love it. I love it. Jesus. Very good. Barry'sVoice.com, keeping it all the way real. I love when men can take accountability. I love that. Anthony, any parting shots?
Yeah, final shot. I mean, the 22 convention tickets are going on sale most likely tomorrow, so Sunday. That'll be December 8th. Excited for that. Also, heads up, the second edition of the Patriarch Edition 21 convention is coming up also. It's going to be held at the same time as 22 convention. Same venue, same hotel, separate events. Men only at Patriarch, women only at 22 Con. If you're a husband or if you have a girlfriend, so if you have a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, you can send her for free to the 22 convention. Or you can bring a friend free to Patriarch, whatever you want to do.
Very good. I like that.
Final thing with that, Patriarch tickets are on sale too. So if you want to become a father someday, or if you are a father and that element of masculinity is very important to you, the 21 convention, Patriarch edition, this time being headed by Tanner Guzzi, that's coming up, same time, April 30th to May 3rd, 2020. Tickets are on sale, 21convention.org/Patriarch. Also link in the description. Usually there's a link for it. Love to see you guys out there. A lot of young fathers and fathers to be like myself. Going to it. It's a good time.
That's going to do it, guys. We will see you next week.